Story 1. What if you show up to what's supposed to be an epic spring break lake house party, only to realize from the first hour that something is deeply wrong? This one has stuck with me for years. It happened during my junior year of college. I'm the cautious, naturally paranoid type, always observant, skeptical, and overthinking everything. My then girlfriend Sophie had a friend named Mia. Mia was the type who always knew where the party was. She approached Sophie with a spring break plan, a big lake house trip up in the remote hills of the Adirondacks. According to her, a bunch of people from some girls' sorority and affiliated frats were renting this huge house on the water for the week. Sophie really wanted to go, and I didn't have a reason to say no. So the four of us, me, Sophie, Mia, and Mia's boyfriend Tyler, piled into Tyler's big SUV. The drive was long but good, everyone in high spirits. The final stretch was this twisting mountain road with almost no houses around. We pulled up around 5 p.m., and my first thought was that Mia had severely undersold it. The place was massive, right on the lake, with a humongous wraparound deck and a dock that went way out over the water. It was the kind of house that makes you wonder who actually owns it. There were also way more cars than I expected. Mia had said 15 to 20 people, but I counted at least 25 cars in the grass lot, with more parked down the road. Tyler had to park far away. We walked up and met a guy standing near the front door. He seemed about our age or a little older. He introduced himself as the host and gave us a very rehearsed-sounding welcome speech. It felt like he had said the exact same words many times before. He showed us where our rooms were, explained the house rules, and then brought up the car keys. He said the roads around the lake were narrow and dangerous at night, especially after drinking, so they were collecting everyone's keys as a liability thing. Tyler shrugged and handed his over. I noticed a big bowl in the foyer, already half full of other keys. We found our room, 2 double beds and a tiny balcony overlooking the water. After putting our stuff away, we went downstairs. The main lounge was a giant open room with full glass windows, giving a wraparound view of the lake. It was honestly pretty awesome. There must have been at least 30 people there. But the weird thing was, Mia didn't recognize a single one of them. They all looked like college kids, but she couldn't find her friend or anyone she knew. I wasn't going to stand in the corner, so I grabbed beers and headed to the pool table. The first night was actually really fun. We socialized, played games, and there seemed to be unlimited alcohol. But one thing kept nagging at me: the host. He wasn't really partying. He kept walking through the rooms, and at one point I saw him with a clipboard, writing things down. Also, the crowd felt strangely fragmented. Everyone seemed to be in small groups like ours. No big unified party. People introduced themselves during games, even though they'd been there for hours. The next morning I woke up early, made coffee, and sat on the deck. I noticed the bowl with the car keys was no longer by the front door. Around mid-morning I saw a couple packing up their stuff, saying goodbye, and driving away. That night we were sitting by the bonfire. I glanced across the fire and saw the same couple sitting a bit further back. I was dead certain it was them. Their car was gone from the driveway, yet here they were. When I checked later, they had disappeared again. It bugged me the rest of the night. The following morning I took a walk down the road. About a quarter mile past a bend where you couldn't see the house, I found an equipment shed. Parked behind it was that same couple's car. I just stood there, jaw dropped. It was confirmation of what I already suspected. I started freaking out quietly. That afternoon, I found the couple near the dock and bluntly asked if they had left the day before. They acted like I was crazy, but my question clearly struck a nerve. While I was talking to them, the whole area got quieter, and I felt eyes on me from multiple directions. Sophie eventually pulled me away. She admitted she had noticed some weird stuff herself, like girls having almost identical backstories. I suggested leaving early, but the others weren't convinced. By the next morning, I had decided we were leaving no matter what. At breakfast, every single set of eyes in the room was on me. I felt it strongly. I walked up to the host and told him we had to go and needed our keys. He smiled like a robot and tried to talk me out of it, mentioning boat plans and how the nights get better. When I insisted, his smile disappeared and he gave me a blank, dead-eyed look. A random girl nearby said coldly, "That's not a good idea." The whole room went silent, everyone staring. The host finally agreed, but led only me through a maze of hallways to a room where all the keys were hanging. He knew exactly which ones were ours without asking. As he handed them over, he said, "You're making a mistake." We packed and left in 10 minutes. As we drove away, I looked back and saw about a dozen people standing in a line on the deck, silently watching us. More faces in the windows. It was deeply unsettling. Later, Mia tried contacting the girl who supposedly organized everything. She got no response. Eventually, we learned that girl's phone had been stolen weeks before spring break. The invitation didn't come from her at all. It came from a stranger. We never figured out what was really going on in that house. Nobody technically did anything illegal, but the whole experience felt so wrong that I'm convinced one more night would have had serious consequences. It's a mystery that still haunts me. Story 2. This happened spring break about 4 years ago. My girlfriend Claire wanted to do something low-key. She'd been talking about a cabin trip for months, just somewhere to disappear for a few days with no obligations. Her brother Ethan was on break from school and staying with us, so he came too. I found a place online. It was pretty deep in the woods of northern Michigan, which was the point, and it was cheaper than it had any right to be. We got there Friday night around dinner time. The place felt genuinely cut off. You couldn't see the road from the front porch. There was an outbuilding off to the side, like a large shed, padlocked with what looked like a brand new lock. Ethan played with it and noted how new it seemed. I said it was probably just the owner keeping equipment inside. It was getting dark, so we went inside and made dinner. That first night was fine. We had drinks on the porch and went to bed early. Light rain started at some point. The woods were loud with insects and frogs, surprisingly calming. Before falling asleep, I heard something bigger moving around outside, but figured it was a deer. What woke me was a sound like something hitting the side of the cabin. Around 2 a.m., I froze in bed, wondering if it was a dream. Then another identical thump. Claire was still asleep. I got up reluctantly, grabbed a flashlight, and looked out. I saw fresh footprints near the outbuilding, human-looking, and none of us had been outside after the rain started. That was incredibly alarming. I made sure everything was locked and went back to bed. A few hours later, around 4 a.m., came loud knocking on the front door. That sound is one of the most terrifying things to wake up to. A man's voice said he was a forest ranger. There'd been an incident and he needed to do a welfare check. I told him we were fine. He paused, then said he still needed to ask questions. I grew instantly suspicious. Ethan woke up and I whispered for him to call the police while I stalled. The police confirmed no rangers had been sent to the area. The man started getting aggressive, banging harder, threatening to kick the door down and arrest us for non-compliance. Claire screamed at him to go away. He started kicking the door, then circled the cabin. We grabbed knives from the kitchen and tracked his movements. Then a rock shattered one of the windows. We braced for him to climb in, hearts pounding. After what felt like forever, police sirens approached. The man disappeared. The officers searched but couldn't find him. They advised us to pack up and leave immediately. Only on the drive home did the full insanity hit me. How did anyone even know about that isolated cabin? It felt planned. What did he want? It was an extremely unsettling experience. Story 3. This happened back in 2016 when I was a senior in college. I was in a frat, and one tradition was spending spring break with your brothers and affiliated sororities. That year, the plan was Puerto Vallarta on the Pacific coast. Around 40 of us booked at the same resort. The main character in this story is my buddy Marcus. He was the kind of guy who, no matter the situation, would make it louder and more complicated. He had zero self-preservation and no impulse control. 3 or 4 days in, a group of us went to the local clubs. It was great until Marcus started looking for something stronger than what was in his glass. We told him it was a terrible idea. We were in a foreign country, none of us spoke Spanish, and the city had a sketchy reputation. He said he'd drop it, but I knew he wouldn't. We lost track of him in the enormous club. Later, his phone went straight to voicemail. Dead. That wasn't like him at all. We decided to head back to the resort, figuring he might be passed out there. Around 1 a.m., while waiting for a ride, we saw Marcus stumbling toward us out of the darkness. He was a complete wreck, shirt torn off, face badly swollen, limping heavily. Back at the resort, he finally told us what happened. He met a short local guy with a friend translating. The guy offered a sample right there. Marcus tried it, his judgment disappeared, and they led him outside to a waiting car. They robbed him, beat him when he resisted, destroyed his phone, and took everything valuable. What probably saved him was when they asked why there were so many Americans in town. Marcus mentioned spring break with dozens of students from the same university at one resort. The men argued in Spanish, then threw him out on a random road. By miracle, he walked in the right direction and found us. We debated calling the police for a few seconds, but decided against it. No one else at the resort ever found out. I still don't know what would have happened if he hadn't mentioned the group or if we had left the club even a little earlier. It was a scary reminder of how quickly things can go wrong.